Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We are once again in the car, which means we have seen yet another film. Tonight's film was none other than the supernatural mystery whodunit. Well, it's just a mystery slow cooker. I wouldn't say it was a thriller necessarily,
Slow
but
cooker, definitely, yeah.
it was a slow cooker. The atmospheric
There we go.
mystery. A Haunting in Venice, the third film to come out with none other than Hercule Poirot. So without further ado, DJ, what did you think about this mystery on a scale of 1 to 10?
I give it an 8.
Okay, why?
So, as far as whodunits go, I have a love-hate relationship with them. I tend to catch on really early to what's going on. But one of the things I really enjoyed about this film was the atmosphere of it. This film is less about the mystery and about the state of the characters themselves, especially our main lead, and his relationship with the other people involved, and how he's coming out of kind of a funk in who he is. The cinematography that goes along with it is really, really good through most of it. I had a few complaints early in the beginning. There were some set scene shots that were fine, but early on when they come in, there's some weird cuts in the beginning. But other than that, it once they get to getting all the characters together, it runs really, really smooth. The interactions are great. The acting is really good. The characters are really good. Believable acting. Like, the characters feel like real people. They don't feel like someone pretending to be someone else.
Yeah.
Just authentic. Kind of makes me think of like old theater acting. Kind of the where you had people like the old school actors, like what's his name, played Picard. Patrick Stewart. Yeah. That kind of acting, the real in the role acting, which is kind of refreshing, honestly. And the plot was really good, and it was simple to follow while still being mysterious and clever. Honestly, I just really enjoyed the film, especially the nuances of not less like the morality of the characters, but it's not really black and white. It kind of exists in the gray, and it does show a light and a darkness to things, but it does show too there's a little bit of muddleness sometimes with motivations and how things actually can end up, and how characters are affected or how they affect others. Just a really, really fun film.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. Personally, I could give this film a 9. Just for the type of film that it is. I'll just knock it. You know what? We'll go with a 9. It's rare that I rate something higher than
It's a solid film.
It's a very good film.
Entertainment-wise, I think that people might have issues with it based on what it is, if they're not into it. But when it comes to an actual work of cinematography or film, this is solid.
Absolutely. I give it a 9 because this film is shot just beautifully. I loved all of the shots. The music was really simple, but it worked very well with the atmosphere, and it drew you into everything that was going on. The visuals were really well done. The actors all did a really great job. The guy who plays Poirot, he's always done a good job. Even like Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, he was a bright spot in both of those films. I have gripes with Murder on Orient Express, and Death on the Nile is not that greatest of films. This film, however, kind of like redeems A Death on the Nile, because not only does it kind of explain more the ending, but it continues the story in a way that isn't like offensive. Like, it makes sense that it continues the way that it does, and it carries over some of the feeling at the end of A Death on the Nile into this one. So it has a continuity, and it makes sense why he is the way that he is, and he's back to what he's doing. The mystery is a good one. Sometimes going and watching a mystery film, just because, you know, I read a bunch of mystery books and watch all the mystery TV shows and stuff like that, sometimes a mystery isn't that great. This one, however, was very well done, and it was laid out in such a way that the entire time I was guessing and second guessing kind of where my estimates were, and I didn't figure it out until pretty late in the film, which I find really refreshing, because I mean, you and I have watched enough movies. I've leaned over and kind of just said,
it was
this
that
is
person.
what's happening.
This is what's happening, and been dead on.
Yeah. So it was refreshing to be wrong at the beginning. But yeah, this film is very, very enjoyable. I think that if you want to have kind of an atmospheric, not necessarily like outright horror thriller, but more of a mystery with some good jump scares and a really great shot atmosphere, this is probably one of the best films to do that. And it's probably one of the best films of the year so far, which is sad to say that, you know, like, so late in the year we haven't really had a lot of contenders for best film that we've seen, especially since Guardians of the Galaxy. There's been such a dry spell. But this one's actually really, really well done. It's a shame that's not doing very well in the box office. I hope things can kind of turn around.
That doesn't really surprise me. I mean, the problem with films like this is they're good, but nobody watches them. But I think ones like these get cult followings later. Like Knives Out. Yeah. Knives Out didn't do super well in theaters, but it did well enough afterwards that it got a sequel on Netflix and in limited release in theaters. And so, you know, if you can get enough people behind it, it will, you know, movies like this will always still get made. I just think, you know, people will say they don't want they're tired of Guardians of the Galaxy 47 and Star Wars 29, but they go and watch Guardians of the Galaxy 47 and Star Wars 29. They don't go watch the interesting, unique, you know, art film that is a traditional mystery whodunnit.
That's fair.
And they just, and I don't think it's because people wouldn't like it. I think it's because people just don't know what it is, or they don't understand it, or they're just, I don't know. It's not as big as the big ones. People know what they're getting. People will watch Disney even though it's been bad, just because it's still Disney.
Well, yeah, I think that part of the reason that this film didn't do super well in the box office so far is, once again, it's a Disney failure in sense of release time. Disney has really just fumbled on release time sometimes.
Yeah, they released everything in an odd order and weird timing. And I feel like whoever is the person over there that's in charge of, like, releasing this stuff did a disservice to them, because
this film should have been dropped in October. It's literally based in October. It's based on Halloween.
Yeah.
It should have dropped
Even Haunted Mansion I can understand, because it's not around Halloween, it's just Halloween-y feeling. This one literally is a Halloween film.
Well, even like Haunted Mansion, though, that should have dropped like at least September.
Yeah, but
it dropped in the middle of August.
It's just, I don't know. So. It's tough. Let's get on the spoilers.
Okay, yeah. Spoilers.
We get hurt by the other movies that came out this year.
We live an existence of pain. Okay, spoilers. I cannot believe that in the middle of Venice, of all places, out of the shadows emerges the world's greatest detective, Le Batman.
Le Batman. Le Batman. It's actually a Batman film.
Exactly. All along.
Oh,
it was a supernatural Batman thriller with the assistance of Hercule Poirot. And the Mystery Machine showed up.
The Mystery Machine. Oh my gosh.
Out of the depths of the rivers of Venice comes the Mystery Machine.
The scene for me that when it came to cinematography that threw me off a little bit was when the kids were coming down on the boats.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weird jump cuts. they didn't feel necessarily helpful or intentional or meant to like jump up the stuff. It was just like every other shot in the film was like perfect, and there was that one moment where it was like flicker, and I was like, what just happened? And then it was done, and then it never did it again. Like there was a slight bit of editing trouble.
That could be the case, but I also feel like it was partly intentional, because the thing is that the beginning of the film puts you off.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I think that
there's a lot of that in the very beginning. There was the random flashes and the birds and the flashes. Like I got that. It was just with the I don't know, was something about it. The way that it jumped angles was, everything else felt intentional and meant to distort. That just seemed confusing and without purpose. It was the only moment. Thousands of shots in the film where it takes specific angles and jarring cuts and jumps around. And there's this one moment where it looks like they accidentally edited like a quick, because it went back to, it was the only time I saw a repeated shot.
That's true.
Every other time, whenever they go out, something else was like with the birds. They show the birds, they leave, they come back to the birds, and the birds have moved. There's everything is moving along, and there's one moment where it's like shoots the kids coming, comes back, and then shows the same scene again, and never does it again the rest of the film or before. It just threw me off a little. It may have been that may have been the point.
Like it may have, I think it.
But all the other jarring shots made me feel like it was trying to push emotion. That one just felt like an accident. I don't know why. I think I just got either I got the wrong thing out of it, or there was something I noticed that maybe I wasn't supposed to. But that was it. That was the only shot in the whole film that threw me off a little.
That's true. The beginning is really chaotic, and it really sets a tone of distrust with the angles and things like that.
Yeah.
The entire scenes, like a lot of the characters are like hyper focused, which is supposed to be extremely unsettling because you're not supposed to be really up close to somebody's face. And the other thing is that it moves and it has like kind of like shockingly quick transitions.
Yes.
So it's really unsettling. You can't really get your foot down, and you don't really have a place to stand. And I think that's kind of what they meant to do.
That felt intentional.
Yeah.
It's just that for some reason, I don't know, I may be doing too much on it, but that one scene just jarred me in a way that all the other ones were like, oh, this is interesting. It's like, this is throwing, like, what to expect. The dream sequence right at the very beginning is interesting, where he's like, wakes up in a sweat. The main character, his relationship to some of the other characters is really good. And it stands in contrast to just like so many other whodunit films where it's like, he's got personal relationships with two of the people that are in it, and so it brings a new dynamic. The writer and his bodyguard, and a lot of the twists are really well set up. Like you said, like I pegged the murderer a little earlier, but that's only because I caught on to the way she treated her daughter. Just that, I was like, okay, she killed her. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but she freaking killed her. Like, she's, because she was so controlling, she kept talking about her daughter as her baby girl. For a lot of the film, other than the pictures, I thought her daughter died a lot younger.
I did too. Like,
and then I saw the picture of her, and then it showed her older. I'm like, how old was this girl? Like 16, and it's like, well, she was engaged. And I'm like, wait. Turns out she was like in her 20s or whatever. I'm like, oh, her mom crazy. Because I'm like, she's talking about her like a child. She's overly possessive, I was like, this is a very controlling mom. And it's when I realized that it was the mom was immediately when the potential the fiance, but her potential future son-in-law, when the picture dropped out, I was like, he still loves her. And then he talks about how controlling she was and how he felt like she was married to her mom. I was like, okay, she killed her. Like, that's when I figured it out. But the thing was, even though I had pegged the murderer, it still felt like a mystery for the rest of it. Because there was still so much, his hallucinations, the other things you mentioned earlier on in the film we were watching, he's drugged. I got it too. I was like, yeah, he's drugged. I thought he got it in the bobbing for apples.
I thought he got it from the mask.
You saw it from the mask.
I thought the mask was laced.
But when the guy was like, oh, the honey, there was that clue.
Yeah, the moment he mentioned that the honey wasn't wildflower, I was like, The honey is laced with something.
I missed it. So I missed that part. I didn't catch what he said. I was like, that seemed important. And later when it went back, I'm like, okay, that's what I missed. I feel like that would have helped. I missed that part. I was like, that was like a major, like, foreshadowing. And there was so much of that. Like, if you pay attention, the clues are, like, right in your face the whole way.
Yeah, there's not a single clue that just...
Except for the blackmail.
In the background.
The blackmail comes out of nowhere, but it's okay because that's just motive.
That's a classic Poirot thing, though.
Yes.
Like,
he picked up on...
If you read...
I've read some of the novels, yeah.
Hercule Poirot always figures one thing out that... and I think Agatha Christie did it on purpose because she didn't want everybody to just figure it out. But there was always
there's always something
like
he keeps to himself.
He figures out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She kept mentioning that he knows something. He knows something that none of the rest of us know. Yep. It was the blackmail. That's what he knew that no one else knew. But as soon as the blackmail came out, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes so much more sense. Because I couldn't figure out it. Yeah. I couldn't figure out the mom's motive for killing the other two people. That was because I was like, the mom killed. I knew the mom killed the daughter. I figured that out, but I couldn't figure out her motive for killing the other two. So I'm wondering, well, she didn't. Someone else did.
I kind of got it backwards the way that I thought it was going. I thought maybe the mom killed the daughter, but the people that came into the house were trying to do something to her. Like it was.
They were trying. They were trying to revenge on her.
Yeah, and I thought it was the bodyguard. I was like, why would he just retire from the police? And why would he be around Poirot?
That kept throwing me off because when it's like he was on the case for her. I'm thinking like, when he said that those two were working together, my thought was he thought it was an actual murder and he was trying to get him back on the case. Mm-hmm. But it turns out, no, it was way more selfish than that. He was just helping the author get back at him.
Yep, because the author was trying to discredit him in some way.
Yes.
Which I thought was a really cool twist, actually.
That was a good
super sweet the whole time.
That was a good twist. That deafened the bodyguard's part. Yeah. He ended up being a red herring, which was clever.
It's good to red herring.
It's a very good red herring, but I would have really liked to have seen him like with motivation, I just wanted to get. I always thought something was hinky, and I really wanted to get this solved. Yeah. Like they were using each other. Like she used him to discredit him, and he used her to get the case solved. They're just using each other. Would have been, I think, kind of interesting, but it's also cliched, so maybe that's why they didn't do it. Probably. But I didn't score it down for that because either way it went is perfectly legit writing, and it all works.
Yeah. And
the only scores it lost for me actually was a couple of the shots, but the only reason I give it an 8, not even like a 9, is actually because of some of the pacing. It takes a little too long in the beginning to get to the point. And then once it does, pacing is perfect the rest of the film.
Yeah, it is a slow burn at the beginning.
It's a very slow burn, and I don't know what the point is for a long time until you get to even after the murder. Like, I don't know what the point, like one of the person's dead, and it's like another 30 minutes in the film before anything happens of it. But the last 35, 40 minutes of the film, like, you really get moving and a lot happens.
Yep.
And I get it, like I think that's kind of meant to be the film, but I don't mind a slow burn. I just feel like the beginning was a little too slow. Like it was getting a little boring there for a bit until it really started to move. And then it was just perfect for the rest of the film.
Yeah. This film is just very, very well done.
Yeah.
Through and through.
If it had just been a little quicker to get to the point, I think, and that's probably me. Like, you enjoyed it a lot more, and I know you're a big mystery person, so the slow burn probably doesn't hit you as hard. For me, I lose patience when you toy with me. Like
it does kind of toy with you at the beginning.
Yes,
because it does.
I don't mind a slow burn as long as it's purposeful. But it literally felt like to me it's just teasing the audience for the sake of teasing the audience, and that was a little just. I felt that a little cheap. But that's it. That was my only issue with it. Everything else is perfect. The characters, the cinematography, the plot, the story, the mystery, it's all really good.
Yeah. I think that the film, from when the medium walks on into the house through to the end, was perfectly paced. Everything before that was a little off-putting and a little bit odd. And it seemed almost like it was just trying to, like, gouge you a little
Well,
bit.
and I didn't watch the last two films. I've read Murder on the Orient Express, and I actually read or seen Murder on the Nile, but I'm aware of it and its premise, but I've not read it, and so I don't. With the film, I'm guessing there's probably a little bit of like, I mean, you get to know him a little better.
Well, it's a huge tonal shift.
Yes.
Like, between Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, they kind of go hand in hand. They work really well. But then this film, I think that might be the other reason that you were like, this is just too jarring. For me, going into this film, it set the tone and was like, this is a different kind of movie. This is a different kind of tone. It's shot differently, it moves differently, it acts differently.
Right. But because I didn't
the
see the other
before.
two, it doesn't feel like a distinguishing factor. It feels like a confusing mess.
Yeah. You're kind of missing out, though.
I will watch
Murder on the Orient Express is good. Death on the Nile has its issues, but I still enjoyed it.
I'll
This
give him
film,
a shot.
however, is probably the best in the trilogy so far.
Well, that's good to know. I really did enjoy it, though.
Yeah.
That's all I got for it.
Yeah, just literally, it's a very, very good movie, guys. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's a lot of little pieces that work together. It's so well shot, and it's so well written, it's so well done. It's such a great film. I wish that more people were going to see it. I hope that word of mouth is good about it, because it deserves to be seen, and it deserves to do well. Anyway, speaking of deserving to be seen, the way that we do that is if you guys interact with us, let us know how we did in the comments, leave us a like, and of course, the best way to show us to the world is by showing us to your friends. So we would appreciate it if you guys shared our videos. Otherwise, be sure to check us out on Facebook at Entertainment Rebooted and Twitter at Exposition Sickle. Otherwise, we have a lot of exciting stuff coming down the line, especially with Halloween coming around the corner. We are doing a Halloween special, actually. So we hope that you guys will come by and check that out later next month. So with that, I think that we're good to go, unless you have anything to add.
That works for me.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching.